This is about planning and implementing, developing your business plan using FMB as a contextual case study. But you can apply this in your current profession. You can apply this for your business, or you can even apply this to your day-to-day lives as well. Because to me, success is not a privilege. It's actually a contribution of a lot of factors, such as hard work, work smart, and a lot of things like that. And ultimately, it really boils down to the captain of the boat that will drive the business. So I'm actually coming from the bigger picture, and I will slowly zoom down later on several techniques that you can actually use to start your home baking business or other home businesses as well. So without further ado, these are some of the learning outcomes that you will be learning throughout this presentation. Number one, you will have an overview of an effective strategic business planning. You will have an overview also of the current transformation, because between the industrial revolution, between the informational revolution, and now social revolution, there are a lot of changes and there are a lot of challenges as well as opportunities. And then you will have some idea on what I mentioned earlier on the captain of the boat. So what is an effective managers and entrepreneurs that is required in today's landscape of a business environment. And then finally, I will use a concept of a business industrial life cycle to kind of narrow down to my FMB case study, which is basically starting up a new FMB business using this actually business industrial life cycle framework. And then finally, there are some practical overview using the case study, and there are also I call that baby steps on what is required in order to get the things moving. I saw someone raising up their hands. Perhaps is there any? Sorry, let me just check. Is there anyone who would like to ask any questions at this point of time? Maybe I'll take one question because I only have 45 minutes to present. Okay, if not, then let me move on forward. Okay, just a little bit about myself. I have about 20 years of experience, both in business as well as professional career. I've been working as well as doing business in property, events, and also hospitality industry. From 2006 to 2015, I actually had 4 restaurants, 2 in Singapore and 2 in Indonesia. And currently, I have my own F&B equipment e-commerce business, as well as a training business together with NTUC. I'm also teaching hospitality in Kaplan. And I also have about more than 10 years experience in the hospitality industry. Just let me take a look if there's some question here. Okay, all right. Okay, sure. Okay, so I just a little bit before we begin, right? It will help to kind of get these things into an interesting topic. Let's just visualize for 1 minute. Okay, picture someone in your mind that resonate with you. That means, who is your business entrepreneur idol? It can be anybody. It can be from any country. It can be any race. Picture this. Okay, if you have made your choice, please do type in your idol into the chat. And personally, for myself, I'll be using my idol, the owner of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and Apple, the former Steve Jobs, to kind of explain the background of them. Yeah. So I'll spend 1 minute. Let's take a look if anyone type in the chat. Yeah. So do type in the chat who's your business entrepreneur idol, and we'll put this into mind. And during the entire course, and later on, I will try to reflect why we have this session. Okay, so this is a bit about the agenda of today. I will go from the macro factor, means what is a effective business planning strategy. Then I'll go down into what are required of the leaders today and innovators today that you need to kind of develop in order to run your businesses. And after that, we will look into the transformation of the business industrial landscape, followed by the different stages of industrial life cycle, and then we're moving on to the case studies. Now, let's start with what is an effective business planning strategy. So, Steve Jobs, in one of the interview, he actually mentioned that, he said that if the right people at the top create the right planning and communicate it the right way to the lower management, it will automatically fall into place. So generally what it means is that if you have the right strategies in place, and if you are able to communicate with all the way from the bottom to the top management, everything will fall into place. And Jeff Bezos also actually mentioned at one of his interviews is that at his stage right now, being the top or the CEO of Amazon, basically is good that for him to, every day you just to make 3 or 4 good decisions, and that may create impact to the whole company. So we are looking at the high side of the corporate structure at the moment. But I'll share with you why in the next slide. So you can see the slide. Basically, in Apple, right, it's actually still pretty much between traditional and modern business. They embrace the technology, digital, and they still have retail shops all over the world. But changes in Apple magics happens actually in the retail side. That means decisions are made every day, and insights are given, and people who are working the operational level is involved in the change and strategy implementation of the company. That's why Apple today is worth more than $4 trillion. Same thing with Amazon. They are everywhere. Basically, their business today, they are worth more than $1 trillion. Their business is more than just providing marketplace, e-commerce. They are in supermarkets. They are in cloud computing. Basically, their business are everywhere. But the difference between Amazon and Apple is that Amazon basically conquer the digital business side. So they don't really implement a lot of retail shop, whereas Apple is still pretty much implementing the traditional retail kind of business. So just to give you a perspective, right? Every big business starts from small business. And every successful CEO or leaders today also start from the bottom. So same thing, Apple, Steve Jobs and his partner actually started the business from their garage. They're assembling their own computer, and then they do their own marketing. It takes them years before they have reached into a $1 billion company. While Jeff Bezos, actually, they also started in the garage. So he used to collect books. He used to buy books from all publishers, and he used to pack his own books and send it to the customers who bought or purchased from the e-commerce site. Now, that's the key point, right? So the common interest here is it seems like a lot of entrepreneurs has their success starting from the garage. So I'm not sure if that's relevant, but I think it's true. So putting into the context of home business, in this case, is that before you can scale into a bigger business or into a chain of restaurant or into a chain of retail shops, you have to start first small. Whether you start from your own home, whether you start from your own small shop, in order to keep the cost low, getting more customers and things like that, which I will explain further later. So what is a good leader? What is a good innovator? And I put this into two contexts. That means taking into a context of the earlier topic about Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, right? In order for you to become the right leader, the right innovator, you must understand and you must be able to execute your business from operational level. That means that you need to be intimate with the business. For example, for Jeff Bezos, he really understands the logistic part, the fulfillment part before he actually, and he also understands the IT part of running the e-commerce business before actually he runs into the management position. So same thing here, leaders and innovators, you have to be able to become a good leader. You must be able to execute the operational level excellent, better than your people that you manage, right? So if you are running a baking business, before you can manage and hire people, you have to be able to become a good baker. At the end of the day, people buy really your product, and people have to believe in your brand and also believe in the skills that actually you present to them. So taking into example of women today, top female entrepreneurs and leaders of today's world. For example, J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling started as a novelist, right? He wrote Harry Potter, and before the first book was published, she went to 12 publishers and got rejected, and finally had the first book published. And now the business has went into movies, has went into retail, has went into branding and things like that. Oprah Winfrey, at one point of time, she was actually a TV host before she had her own show. And one of the interview, actually, she was asking why is she being paid lower with her colleague who is doing the same job? In fact, she's doing a better job. So again, proven, right, that she has able to become a capable TV host before starting her own show. Anita Roddick, who owner of Body Shop, travels around South Africa in order to learn about the natural ingredients before starting her first business, Body Shop. And the other one, Lucy Peng, is actually one of the co-founder Alibaba. She went through the entire process with Jack Ma until Alibaba became a giant today. She's in fact the brain of Alipay that has, and she is one of the youngest billionaire, self-made billionaire for women entrepreneurs today. Okay. So, what is the changes in the patterns today? In the past, right, products is manufactured and then it was distributed into the wholesaler, and then the wholesaler will send it to the retail shop and people will purchase it from the retail. So everything is structured from production, from distribution, all the way to marketing. But that means that it is assumed that in the past that everyone can predict the demand of the future. So generally, like for example, IKEA, they manufacture the furniture in the beginning and they know exactly what the market needs. And all they need to do is basically set up more products and more outlets for people to go and purchase. But today is different, right? As I mentioned, in the Industrial Revolution, things are predictable. There are not so many competition. The internet is not there. So production happens first before the distribution. Distribution happens first before the marketing. Whereas today at the information revolution, internet is there. So the border globalization has been pushed to a very high growth. Whereas, like for example, let's say today you want to buy something from United States, you can simply just Google and you can find the items that you want to buy, be it sports shoes, be it some apparels and things like that. So the digital innovation has actually kind of lowered down the cost of doing business, lower down the cost of actually reaching to your customers, and in fact, there's no essential requirement today for a wholesaler or even a middleman. And in the social revolution today, basically people are looking at quality of life. People are looking at trends. We have social influencers. We have celebrities, and generally in this revolution, the women entrepreneurs are actually growing. And in fact, today there are more successful women entrepreneurs in comparison to the male, right? And I think personally, I feel female entrepreneurs are better managers in some aspects. So, what is the changes of the industry in the mechanism in the industry? So, like I mentioned earlier, right? Today you can open a shop immediately in, let's say, Shopee, and you can sell your product immediately directly to the customer. There is this platform you call marketplace, where the marketplace is basically where sellers and buyers meet, and they can immediately transact between each other. And it is not restricted by borders. It is not restricted by a high cost barrier. To start an online business today is very, very affordable, and it really depends again to your product, how you market your product, and how you create your campaigns using those social media marketing, using SEO, using digital marketing to be able to reach your customers. So in the current industry, there's no more requirement of a middleman, right? And transparency is the new law in this industry. So there are new different businesses today that, thanks to the digital innovation, there's eBay, online auction. There's marketplace like Shopee, Lazada, Tokopedia, and every big country will have their own platforms. Like in Australia, it will be Bunnings. In United States, it will be eBay, it will be Amazon. In Singapore, it will be Shopee, it will be Lazada, and so on. And all these digital advancements actually have a lot of tools that the new business startup can use in order to reach to their customers. So let me cover a little bit about the concept of industrial life cycle. So in the industrial life cycle, right, there are 4 stages. You begin with a new entry. That means if you start your business, you will actually be in the entry phase, right? The entry phase, and then you will have to actually promote your business. You have to find customers. You have to innovate. You have to differentiate, and you have to kind of win against the competitors. Then you move into the growth stage. In the growth stage, you'll be enjoying, a good growth, but growth means to be able to sustain growth, especially in today's market, you really have to keep, innovating. You really have to keep creating awareness. You have to keep making your products better and things like that. And then where it reached to a mature state, for example, like Apple today, it would be considered mature. They are very big. And in fact, they also have a lot of competition. They have a lot of risk of actually declining. So big companies like Apple, Amazon today, they have to keep innovating. They have to keep repositioning. They have to keep moving to a new industry in order to keep themselves relevant. So this is the stages in the industrial life cycle. So how this applies to your business, and I will focus on the case study later on the new entrant business, which is kind of, you want to set up your home baking business, then what do you need to do? It will cover up in the next slide. So in different stages in the industrial life cycle, we have different challenges, and different challenges will have different solutions. But again, as I mentioned, different business will have different conditions. So what is this talk about is only to be able to provide you some insights. But when you run your own business, you will have to evaluate yourself, what are your circumstances, and you will have to plan your business and then implement it according to what works and what sells. So for example, if you start a new business, right, these are some of the challenges you will face. In terms of sales volume, it will be small, it will be slow, right? You will have only a few customers and things like that. And in order for you to drive, to have more customers, you have to innovate, right? You need to differentiate your business against other competitors. For example, if you focus on the service quality, let's say I do a home business, a baking business, and I wanted to differentiate myself against other competitors. So I can use an example like Awfully Chocolate. Awfully Chocolate, this chocolate retail chain is very successful in Singapore. They have these terms called from scratch and all fresh ingredients. So everything is made in-house. Everything is made from scratch. So fresh equals to good quality, right? And the service quality means that for every customer who purchase, they must be your loyal customers and they must come back and keep purchasing from your business. And that's how a startup business is able to move to the growth stage, right? So, and in the early phase, when you do your home business or when you start your business, the amount of customization is very high. Meaning, right, you still can afford to do a lot of innovation. Meaning, you can do the extra mile to, for example, you can create a lot of product variety. You can create a lot of promotions. Whereas when you have more customers, when you are growing bigger and you have regulars, you need to standardize the operations. So at the growth stage later on, when your business has increased in terms of revenue, in terms of market size, you will need to focus on increasing your distribution. You need to focus on standardizing the quality. You need to be able to create new promotions to be able to boost the growth. So this is in this next F&B context, I will only focus on the introduction part. And then, so in setting up a new business, right, I will put into 3 frameworks. So now the most important thing is before you start your business, what is the value proposition or what is the core value of your business, right? I mean, before you even wanted to sell your idea or wanted to sell your product to others, you must be able to convince yourself that, you have something different. And in the context of F&B business, it has to be about the product. It cannot be just because you have a nice concept. For example, you want to build a theme of a spaceship restaurant. Okay, the restaurant can be a spaceship. The interior design can be like if you are in the outer space. However, when the product comes, you are serving generic product like burger, French fries. and the quality of the product is not good. So basically, that's not the focus here. The focus is, in order for you to start your business, you have to focus on the product. So for F&B, it boils down to your food and your beverage. So it has to be of high quality. It has to be of a difference to others. So again, you have to ask yourself, what would be the value proposition of the business? And then after you have your concept, the product, what is your product? What is your concept? And then how you're going to run the business? How you're going to plan your service operations? How does your business work? Are you going to operate this from home? Are you going to manage it yourself? And do you have the resources for that? So if you are doing a home baking business, for example, you have to think about, okay, where to source the flour. You have to create an SOP in order to ensure food safety, ensure consistency in the mixture, and ensure that there is the speed and the productivity when you produce your baking, right? And then finally, when you have your service operation mapped out, you need to plan your targets and how you want to achieve your strategy. Your target means that, okay, in 6 months, I want to be able to break even. In 1 year, I want to be able to open a restaurant outlet outside my home. So that is targets, right? And then when you have the targets, we need to talk about how to achieve these targets. Now, using this framework, the 3 frameworks, you need to apply this framework in when you started your own business. So I'm going to use my past F&B business as a case study, which is, I call this international barbecue. So in Indonesia, back in 2009, I started my own first barbecue store. So I had the idea at that time. I saw Torikyu in Singapore, and they are doing quite well. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Torikyu. They are selling yakitori, Japanese satay, and they have a lot of outlet. And basically, they have the concept of people buying freshly made yakitori, and they can take away with affordable price, very fast process, and it looks very good. So I had the idea to set up the international barbecue, meaning to combine between the West and the East. So I had three cuisine that I combined together, from kebab, and then from yakitori, and also from this Xinjiang malahoko, is the Xinjiang the lamb satay that is very popular in China. So I had this combination of international barbecue cuisine with the concept and format that we make it fresh, people can take away, and the price is affordable. And so this is how I differentiate the value proposition. In terms of volume, the product is very fast to make, and the product is very affordable. So the target is always selling it quickly. The product is of high quality. The product is very affordable, and the speed is very high. So the focus is always on the sales volume. And then the variety, the concept of this international barbecue focuses on different product categories. Whereas in yakitori, you probably only can see about 9 food categories. In international barbecue back then, we serve more than 26 food categories. So basically, we have 26 different selection of barbecue, and this is our unique selling proposition in terms of product variety. And then in terms of variation in demand is quite standard. That means even if I have a high product category, because it's only focusing on barbecue satays, right? The process to the service operation to be able to cook these different barbecue items will be very standard. So the speed is fast, and the process is very easy to manage. So the variation in demand is manageable. That means when people have different orders, we can easily cater to the orders. And the feasibility, right? And that the idea is we are to have many kiosks located at a feasible area where actually people can see. We target students, we target professionals. They come by and buy lunch probably with 4 barbecue or 5 barbecue with rice, and they can eat it at whichever convenient place to them. So now comes down to the service operations, right? So how do I plan the service operation? Earlier on, as I mentioned, this is about running an international barbecue satay. So they only require a few equipment at the time. I only there's only I don't need a lot of storage. So basically, a 4-door chiller and freezer is good enough to be able to store the products and the ingredients. And then practically the cooking method only uses either deep fryer and a barbecue grill. So this is the two methods. So the operation goes this way. When people comes in to order in the cashier, we will have already a standby products that is able to immediately serve the customer, right? And our movement are very fast. Our orders very fast. So it only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to be able to cook and deliver the product. So we always have a display warmer at the front to actually kind of have the ready products to be able to sell. And our holding time is only usually between 10 to 15 minutes, especially during peak period like lunch and dinner. And in order to make this simpler, the service operations are all self-service. So the moment the customer has made their order, they can collect the order and they actually can get a drink and sit down. We have a small sitting area where they actually can sit and eat. So the total space area was about 450 square feet, and it was able to accommodate up to about 24 sitting capacity based on a self-service and free sitting. And after that, remember the three framework, right? And finally, I'm actually here to set up the strategy. So what was the strategy? The strategy was always to keep the cost low, all right? Because as I said, as a new business, we need to keep the cost low. We need to boost the sales. We need to innovate. So having this setup, I only need to have 2 or 3 staff present at any point of time. And then the quality, I focus on the quality. It's between moderate and high. There's a certain degree of ingredients. There's a certain degree of standardization, but we use fresh ingredient and we don't pre-make the items. So when people order, we will actually cook it. So the quality is there. The time, we focus on the speed, right? The delivery, one customer maximum is 5 minutes. So within 5 minutes, we must be able to close one order or less. Sometimes it's 2 minutes. And in terms of innovation and flexibility, we only have 3 different sauces. So we have a pre-made sauce of spicy, salty, and sweet. And we don't have to stock in products. We can actually just pick it the day before, and we can actually just finish. So the storage is meant to finish and be used on that day itself. The routine, the task is very simple. It is designed to be repetitive, and it focuses on the time and the quality and the cost. Now, when you start your own home baking business, right? Using the F&B iBarbecue just now as a case study, the idea is remember to always start small, right, and minimize your cost. So let's say if you are doing home business, right? You're doing home business and you're doing it yourself. You minus your rental. You're actually minusing your salary of need to hire people. And if you do it yourself in small operations, you should focusing on making the product good, making the product demand different, and you focus the cost on building customers. So make sure that if let's say you were to advertise let's say you do baking, you do bakery, and then you advertise in Instagram, you advertise in Facebook, or perhaps you open your own e-commerce shop nowadays in Lazada, Shopee, make sure to focus on reaching the customers. And every customer who buys from you must be able to buy again. Make sure there is no loss of customers. So every single customer become your regular. So that is actually the focus point, right? When creating awareness, giving value, providing service, and this way you will actually grow your sales, grow your customers to a point that we call this a scaling point, right? So when let's say 6 months you operate your home business and you are able to get, let's say you have about 300 regular customers, and your monthly earning per customer, say you have $10. So basically you have 3,000 sales per month, and that is recurring. So when you have that kind of scale, then you can decide whether or not to move to a larger space. Because running from home, there's always a limitation. There's always a limit where you cannot go beyond, right? So you will probably need a bigger space. You will need a proper licensing. You will need to hire people. You will need to increase your feasibility. So this is where you decide to actually move into a commercial space. So always focus on getting customers. So whatever cost you spend is to focus to get more customers. So what is the steps you actually can take in order to start your first retail business? So using the 3 framework we had earlier, you need to focus on the business concept. Consider what is unique about your product, what is unique about your business. And after that, you need to be able to know what is the selling point. Like for example, earlier on, I've highlighted that the selling point of the product was that we had a big product variety, the quality is good, and it's very affordable, and the production is very fast. So generally, these are the selling points that you need to think about when you are inventing your product. And you need to start small, and then you need to move very fast, perfect your productions, and master your operations, and then build your customer base. Everything else will fall in line according to what Steve Jobs said earlier. So I think that is the end of my presentation. I will use the remaining time to actually take some questions. But by the way, this is a sneak peek of a course that that NTUC will develop on business planning. So if you are interested to learn more about business planning, implementation, how to develop your own and how to start your own business, you can inquire more to NTUC.
Thank you so much, Sugate. I think I'm so happy to see that the questions started rolling in immediately when you started your presentation. So I think Andre has been answering a lot of the questions as well as been typing quite elaborate answers. So maybe I think the questions for E2I are more or less addressed. So maybe Andre would like to share a little bit more on the questions that you actually addressed. And I think there are still some open questions as well.
Yes, sure. So there's a lot of questions pertaining whether or not you need a license to operate home business. Apparently, actually, you don't need to create a company yet, or you don't have to register any license yet, depending on what you want to do, right? For example, if you want to create a pastry or a home bakery, you can actually start just without any registration of company or license, but you need to check also with the authorities like Singapore Food Agency. There are certain things that you cannot do. And for home business generally is that they encourage you to do that for your neighborhood, for your friends, for your community. So there is a limitation in terms of your advertisements because you post it publicly in Facebook, you post it aggressively in, for example, in social media or in other advertisement channel. Actually, you will need to have a company for that. But the idea is because let's say you are operating from a neighborhood in, let's say, Yishun, you have more than 6,000 units around you, you can actually softly promote your products. For example, if you do a home catering or you do a bento or you do a pastry. So yes, you don't have to need a license to that, but you need to check with the authority as well on what you can do. Right, that's one of the questions. And then I think there's another question that I've not attended to is there any demand on my product to create a break even? So generally, again, you go back to the basic, right? The product has to be different. Your product has to be special. And when I say special means the taste must be good. So you have to create something that really, really tastes fantastic, right? And how to do that? Very simple. I think you follow a very good recipe, you follow a very good mixture, and you use fresh ingredients. You cook it yourself, you immediately serve it to the customer the moment that they are cooked. So this actually will improve your high quality of the products. So from having a good product and then you are serving your customer, at the moment, don't charge too expensive, maybe just earn a little bit of margin, focus on the promotion, focus on the service, and that's how you will get your customers to become your regulars. So that's one of the question. And I think there's also another question, right, saying that what are some of the consideration, as a business owner that you have to consider, right? For example, why I would propose encourage home business? Because at the end of the day, right, you don't have to do it full time just yet. You don't have to take risk to give up your current job or your current profession and then do a home business. Because at the end of the day, you can actually do your home business on a part-time basis. For example, you do your home bakery only in the weekends, right? You only take in orders only for the weekends. So you can start receiving orders from Monday to Friday, but you actually only do your production and delivery on Saturday and Sunday. That way, you still can work from Monday to Friday. The idea is with doing the home business and you are able to scale, get enough customers, let's say you have a certain sales that you achieve every month, then you can consider whether or not to actually do it full time. But don't go blind and then just go immediately into home business and giving up all that safety net that you need. Because any business will need time to build and you just need to work hard on it. That's all. And the final one, I think that there's a question also, how about the delivery cost? Okay, I did a home catering business back in COVID time. This is just a case study. So what I did was I actually created bento sets, that means a bento for family. So generally I only work with a few regular customers, 7 or 8 customers, and I serve them based on a weekly menu. So for example, Monday to Friday, they will choose different menu. Then I only will make that menu and deliver that to them. So I choose regular customers who live surrounding my area, and to make sure that because they order 5 days, I'm able to recuperate on the cost of the delivery. So it really depends. My suggestions is really start from your own neighborhood. Then you save a lot of delivery costs. And how you get a job doing freelance? I think that the idea is because I believe that Singapore wants to promote this entrepreneurial spirit, right? Freelance is actually very encouraged. So if you do have a set of skills that you think that, even if you don't have set of skills, cooking is very fun. And if you enjoy it, if you enjoy baking, you can actually learn that, you keep doing it, right? Until you really found a product that you want to do. For example, you can do a banana loaf, you can do a brownies, you can do tiramisu, whatever you like. And once you perfect that product, then you start selling it through your friends, to your neighborhoods, or even to your, softly through your Facebook. Yeah. So, and yes, apparently, I think at the end of the day, for home business, because I think you need to check that with the authorities, but the idea of home business is because we want to encourage you to actually build, have a certain income. But when you reach a certain income or sales, right, you will still have to register a company. You will still have to make it proper. But in the beginning, maybe when you do it freelance or part-time, you can, I don't think the amount of sales that you need, probably, you need to check and then whether or not you need to declare tax. But the tax, it will be the same as your personal income tax, right? It really depends on how much you earn from that business. But I do encourage you to declare that on your yearly income tax. Yeah. I think that's a question so far. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Any last call for questions? Yeah, I think, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Andre. I think your wealth of experience has really helped in the sharing and provided them a lot of insights and input. So to our audience, if you have any more questions, and you're confused on who to approach because there are so many of us here, just feel free to write into any of us. Our chat, our links are all there. So you can just feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll assist you to direct to the correct NTUC units accordingly. Yeah. So without further ado, I think let's call it a day. Happy weekend. Have a restful weekend ahead. And TGIF, thank you so much for joining us at this webinar again, and see you at the next one. Thank you so much, Silgate. Thank you so much, Andre. Thank you.